It is, testing on, testing,
Holding on the power button on the side.
it might all be off, testing. Everybody check your mics, apparently I'm not.
Think mine's on? Yeah. I'm on.
There it goes. Testing, okay. It's 1 o'clock, let's get rock and rolling. Everybody's got their mics on.
Yep.
Hello?
Dave, you can hear us? Yep, we got you. Ernie?
You bet,
Okay.
All in the touch.
All right. Municipal Planning Commission for Wednesday, January 19th, 2022.
Oh, yeah.
I was just noticing that that might be a change we may want to make. I'm done with 21, I don't think.
They changed it in the package.
It is on the package, on our piece of paper here, so it's not a big deal. Anything in the agenda that we want as an addition? We have one, I think, come forward, a 2 o'clock delegation.
Yeah.
Anything else? Okay. Any questions or concerns from the board? Dave, you're going to move those minutes?
I'll move it.
Those agenda? Good, thank you. Minutes from December, oh, I better vote on that. All those in favor? There you go, thank you.
Favor.
Minutes from the November or December 9th, 2021. Any questions or concerns? Mr. Stolberg?
I'll give you the motion to accept them as presented.
Okay. No questions? Seeing none? All those in favor? It's carried. David, I see your wave. Thank you.
In favor, Larry or James?
Oh, sorry, Larry. I apologize. I didn't. Which one are you?
I'll rename them.
I'd probably my home number, 574-3923.
Okay, we've got you. There you go. Sorry about that. I have you now.
No problem. Yeah.
Okay. And no business arising from the minutes. So, okay. Going right into development reports. Go ahead, Jacinta.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So on page 3 of your package, you have the list of some of the meetings that we've been attending, and just to follow up on some of those, we've had multiple meetings with the town and Dillon. We had a good meeting yesterday. I think it was very productive to have our 2 councillors attend the work group meeting, and we were able to make some progress on the boundaries and referral area. And so we'll be bringing that map to you for review probably later on this meeting. As well, we did meet with PCPS, and we're reviewing the terms of reference. We're updating our land use bylaw and our municipal development plan. We will be bringing another item forward for you later in February. And we did attend a subdivision development appeal board meeting yesterday for the Northwest of 253719. No decision has been rendered on that appeal, but it will be forthcoming within 15 days. And regarding our development permits, we just have 3 to date for January 2022. We did a comparison of the past few years. At the end of the year, we were at 135 development permits and 24 subdivision applications for 2021.
So that's pretty close. A little more on the development permits and a little just barely less on subdivision. Okay. Are there any questions? Larry, any questions for that report?
No, I have no questions. I'll move that report.
Okay, Dave?
No questions on that. It's good.
Okay. Mr. Stolberg?
I had a question.
Okay. No, I just, those 2 I didn't see, so go ahead.
For the development permit numbers for 2021, in total, are the permits that RVs required to be parked for so many days, are they included in that number?
Yes, they are. We issue anything that we issue a permit for, and permits are required if they are staying for longer than 21 days and 1.
Right, because I see this year is so much higher, I assumed. So is there any way we could get a number without that one in there? just to see how the general development permits compare from year to year? Because that permit requirement was not in force prior to this year, was it?
Oh, yes, it has been since RV's.
Oh, okay, they have. It's just the way we do.
Like at the various subdivisions, for example, when you obtain a permit in the Buffalo View Estates subdivision or Ocean Sands Heights, it's valid for 2 years. So after the 2 years, it's renewable. Whereas in Buffalo Lake Meadows, it's renewable after 5. And the other subdivisions, there isn't. It's an indefinite permit. So they've always been included in our numbers.
The change we made this year was for less than 21 days, and those numbers aren't reflected.
Yeah.
That would be a very large number.
That would be, make up part of the difference, yeah, okay.
Well, we could get that number to you of how many temporary RV permits were issued last summer.
Okay, no, that'd be interesting for sure.
For next,
Thank you.
Okay. Justin, Paul, Ernie, anything else? Any other questions?
Questions for the development officer?
The only thing that I can bring into it, is it, the numbers are only rising because it's being more brought to our attention to be more in compliant?
I think we just saw an overall increase in development last year. It's, I think people are staying closer to home and spending more time, making improvements on their property or developing. I think we just saw a lot more inquiries and just more overall development.
A little bit more spending locally then?
Yeah. And yeah, they're not traveling, so they're working more on hobbies. And did you have something to add to that, Rich, to consider? Yeah, I think that's just what we've observed, but yeah, it's been definitely an increase in activity.
Thank you. It's really encouraging to see our subdivisions the last year were the highest they've been in the past 6 years. So I think that's encouraging. People do want to subdivide here.
Go ahead.
Just an answer, we had 99 temporary RV tags taken out last year.
Okay, that's a jag.
There's no other questions. Seeing none, we have a motion on the floor to accept this as presented from Mr. Clark. All those in favor? Dave's a good. Larry, you're good?
Favor, yeah, good.
Okay, that's carried. Okay, development permit, 6.1. Go ahead.
The applicant is online.
Okay. This, so help me out with this one, Jacinta, who,
The BAP 0066.
okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant is proposing to construct a 720 square foot detached ancillary building in the front yard of Lot 50, Block 2, Plan 0729060. The applicant is requesting a 64% variance from 25 feet to 9 feet to the minimum front yard setback. A development permit was issued for a detached dwelling and raised covered deck with a 61% variance to the east side yard setback from 10 feet to the 3.9 feet on October 22nd, 2021. Section 4312 of the land use bylaw states on a lot in a multi-lot subdivision, a detached ancillary building or any portion thereof shall not be placed within the front yard of a parcel of land. Section 23.5 of the bylaw provides the Municipal Planning Commission with the discretion to allow a variance to locate an ancillary building in the front yard of a parcel. Section 23.1 of the bylaw stipulates that development authority may decide on a development permit application, even though the proposed development does not comply with this bylaw or is a non-conforming building or use, if, in the opinion of the Municipal Planning Commission, the proposed development would not, if, in the opinion of the MPC, the proposed development would not unduly interfere with the amenities of the neighborhood, or materially interfere with or affect the use, enjoyment, or value of neighboring parcels of land. Or B, the proposed development conforms to the use prescribed for in the bylaw. Section 23.4B of the bylaw provides the Municipal Planning Commission with the discretion to allow a variance of any minimum or maximum development standard in this bylaw. So the applicant is requesting the variance, and we did have some concerns from the
What we'll do right now, Jacinta, is, Andrew, what I'd like you to do is just introduce everybody who's online and who's here. That seems to work the best versus us doing it.
Yeah, so in the room today, we have myself, Andrew Burchuk, the Director of Municipal Services, Rich Fitzgerald, Development Officer, Ernie Gender, Board Member, Paul McKay, Board Member, Dave Grover, Board Member, is joining us by Zoom, Justin Stevens, Board Member, Les Dilberg, Board Member, James Nyberg, Chair, and then Larry Clark, Board Member, is also joining us by phone today. And then as well in the room, we have Jacinta Donovan, Director of Planning Services, Nikki Thorstensen, Director of Communications, and Marlene Hansen, Executive Assistant.
Okay, there you go.
And we've got Yvette Cassidy online as well.
Awesome. Okay, go ahead, Jacinta, with your concerns.
So, we just had some concerns with the 9-foot setback from the operations department with regards to a 3-meter utility right of way. So they're requiring area to work around the utility line. So that is a concern that was brought forward.
So do we have on the map where the utility line is?
The utility is in our right of way, but they do need some area around the utility line to do any required work or maintenance.
Go ahead, Justin.
Stevens.
Just for clarification, which utility is that? Are we talking
Their water and sewer.
So at this time, Dustin, are you online? Is that who I have online?
Yes, it is. I'm here, thanks.
Okay, do you want to speak to this? I'll give you the opportunity.
Yeah, so what I'm looking for is just to put their garage in the front just because there's not really a place for it in the back. And we didn't want to have an attached garage to the house. So I spoke with Jacinta today, and my thought was there'll be no access from the street, like no front door, any of such facing the street. It'll all be to the east, to the side yards. So there'll be no, I guess, parking issues that way. They'll be parking up on the slab. But what I spoke to her about today was with that 10-foot setback, if I could just gravel that, and then if there was ever an issue where excavation needs to be completed, we could just remove the gravel and dig away and not have to worry about any structure or anything like that. But if we could apply for that 10-foot easement from the utility right away was what I'd be looking for.
Okay. Jacinta, just help me out with this, and then what I'm looking at right now is a little white square on a map with an arrow pointing to it. How much is our public works saying that they want them to set it back? Did they say the full amount, or were they willing to accept some sort of a compromise?
So just to clarify, it's not in the road right of way. There is a utility right of way that is 3 meters in parallel to the road. So it would generally be best for that to be entirely unencumbered. And Rick Green is just trying to get into the meeting now, hopefully. Sorry, I'm just trying to...
So 3 meters is basically 10 feet, and Dustin wants to put it within how many feet?
Any originally.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, Jacinta.
No, you speak, Justin, that's perfect. But do you have this in mind?
I can take a look. There we go.
Mr. Gender, we'll go ahead with your question.
On the lot that is 2 to the west, there's a building there. Can we see like what distance they are from that? So give us a very close idea like what we are dealing with.
Dustin, you could probably, because Dustin will be developing both lots. The neighboring lot is a friend of his, so he is going to be developing both of those lots, separate titles, but both lots would be developed by Dustin. So Dustin, Mr. Gender is asking the setback from Travis's house to your lot. I believe it was.
I'd like to know the distance from that building to the south boundary, because like that little small
Yeah.
white dot does not really show in reference?
Yeah, what we're seeing isn't making, I agree with you, Mr. Gender. So Dustin, what we're seeing here is the little white dot looks awfully close to the south property line. So I'm gonna, right now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ask Mr. Rick Green, who is the one who is kind of the one who made a comment on this, if I could ask Rick to give us, the board, his comment on it. Got to unmute, Rick.
There we go.
All right, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah, so basically it's a utility right of way that this building would be sitting right on top of, boundary to boundary. And I don't think it's a very good idea to be allowing structures, that type of things, when we have established setbacks for these communities for partly these reasons, to make sure that we have good access to municipal and other utilities. This, the development on this lot is all brand new. They've had plenty of time to show all their plans related to this, rather than bringing in piecemeal. And just strikes me that the house and everything else could have been pushed back to make room for all this, let alone the garage could be made smaller, because it is a little bit on the oversized side. So this just looks to me like an attempt to kind of circumvent and assume we can just get variances all the time.
Okay. Can you work around, what are you looking at when you're talking this right of way, your utility right of way that what are you looking at is so that if you had to do a dig or something there, you would.
As a starting point, it's not our utility right away. We're registered on it, but it's for largely a gas line. I don't know if Jacinta's bothered to contact the gas company regarding access to their utilities there and whatnot, but there is a 3 meter wide utility right away that I believe is in shallow. Telus line may be in, as well as the gas line should all be in there.
Okay, so that changes things. Dustin, are you there?
Yep.
Are you, unfortunately, that leaves us in a little bit of a conundrum here, in my opinion, because if we haven't checked with the other utilities, that leaves us with a big what if. So are you in a panic? Does this have to be done this month?
No, I just want to clarify. By no means do I think that I can just apply for easements and they can be just approved. I disregard that comment. I'm trying to follow the right channel and do the right thing. We're trying to put our house in better suit our backyard and to enjoy more of the lakefront, not sit out during the street side. So by pushing the house way forward to the lakeside to the north, you take away what you paid your money for. So I don't agree with that comment. But yes, I would be looking for, if I could get you can table it and we can wait till see what the utility come up with for what they need for a setback. But I'm not looking to put a structure right on top of the utility line. That's not my doing here. If there's a number that we can work with, and there's a number that you guys can approve and say, you know what, you got to be 11 feet back from the utility right away. That's where it's going to be. Okay, that's fine. That's all I'm looking at.
Yeah, no, and we get that, Dustin. Dustin?
Yeah.
Okay, we totally understand that, and I understand your objection to the comment. That's fine. Where we're at is we cannot make a decision without getting the proper advice from the other utilities. If they come in and say, well, we need this because when we do that, if we had to do dig there and we had to turn a backhoe around and we accidentally hit your garage. Those are the kind of things that poor planning gets municipalities in trouble with. So that's what we're trying to avoid. We're doing the same thing you are, and I agree with you. I like that idea that coming up front first, let's get a working relationship and make it work totally good. I'm with that. So Mr. Stevens, go ahead.
Yeah.
It isn't strictly having the garage over top of the utility. It is allowing ample room for an excavation. We've seen in this area before, we had to dig up a water line. do a repair. And you have to leave enough room where we're not potentially digging up the foundation and potentially damaging it. So I agree that we have to look at this. One more clarification. The garage, the eaves on it, we're looking at a 3-foot setback from the side boundary to your neighbors. And I have some concerns. We've seen in the past where there's a construction or survey error and that 3-foot variance gets cut back substantially. Now, if we have, it's not uncommon to have an overhang of 18 inches, 2 feet. I would hate to grant a variance that close where the overhang is actually over top of the neighbor's property. Because I think at that point, we would be materially interfering with the effect or use or of the enjoyment of the neighboring properties. So I'd like some clarifications on the overhang and what side that would be on and how large it is.
So Dustin, we have 2 issues that we would like to get back. So we'd like some clarification of your overhang on that. And then we also have to get clarification from the utilities. So this may be something that we have to table till next month. Mr. Gender.
To the west there, that one building, the one building that is already there, I don't know whether you can see the dimensions, but like right now we are sitting at 6.1 meters from the property line or 20 feet. It would give you a good idea. Like if we have passed it in the past, it might be a precedent setting, so you can kind of look at that one, compare it to your own, and say, like, bring it back to us and see whether that will work.
Yeah, no, we've been out there quite often, and I know where our house is situated. I'd have to go back to designing and shove it all forward to the north to be able to even put in a shed if it was 20 feet back, just because right now, roughly, when I look at our setback from our porch, we have 45 feet. That is to the east and south point of our property. That's the closest spot that I have. So I imagine on the other side, on the west side, we're probably closer to 52 feet. So yeah, I'm just trying to, like I said, I'm not trying to be greedy. I'm just trying to see where I can fit that garage, where it'll work for any type of excavating or whatever needs to be done, where I can possibly put that where it doesn't interfere. So, like I said, if you have to table and talk to the other utilities, and that's all by no means no issues. I'll wait to hear back from you guys, and I'll get you the eave overhang, but I'll make sure it be somewhere around 14 inches so it's not encroaching. And we will have no water drainage onto that area. It will drain to the front or to the south or to the east, so it doesn't drain towards the west because it's so close to the property line.
Okay, that sounds good. So Dustin, if you put your garage and your house closer together, when you're hauling groceries in, it works actually a little better too, so you're not walking so far.
Exactly, yeah.
Mr. Stolberg, I would entertain a motion to table this till next meeting.
I can give you that motion.
Okay. Is there any other questions, concerns at this time? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? I got Dave as yes.
Yes.
And Larry is a yes, so that's carried. So Dustin, just contact Jacinta and we'll work this through and we'll figure something out here.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks for your time, guys.
All right, thank you.
Okay, have a good day.
No subdivision files, no old business. What we have left is an in-camera and a delegation at 2:00. Is the in-camera going to take us more than 35 minutes?
Soon not.
Okay. That being said,
Give you a motion.
Justin has given us, Mr. Stevens has given us a motion to go in camera. No questions, concerns, all those in favor? Dave is in. Larry?
Yes, I'm in.
Okay, all
Yeah.
All right, so, Mr. Stevens,
I'll make a motion that administration enters into a license of occupation with conditions on row 20-5 north of Bayview Street.
okay. No questions or concerns? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Mr. Larry Clark and Mr. Dave Grayler?
In favor?
There it is, okay. And we're gonna take a quick comfort break, I guess, and be back for a 2 o'clock delegation.
Unless, I'll just double check with Jason. I assume that Julie's still planning on attending with you? No, she was, you are muted right now. There you go.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, I do expect her to be there at 2, yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, I know she's coming back from an appointment. So, yeah, we'll just take a quick break. Thanks, Jason.
Okay.
You need a motion to go to a comfort break? Like just, that's call of the chair. And Dave, Larry, you're there, yes?
Yeah, you betcha.
Dave?
Yeah, I'm in.
Okay, good. Okay. Yeah, so Andrew, again, we'll go ahead and do some introductions. I think everybody knows everybody here, but we'll just, so that for the record, we'll have everybody introduced.
Well, I'll start by introducing myself. I'm Andrew Burchick, Director of Municipal Services. Also in the room today, we have Rich Fitzgerald, Development Officer, Ernie Gender, Board Member, Paul McKay, Board Member, Justin Stevens, Board Member, Les Dolberg, Board Member, and James Nyberg, Chair of MPC. As well, we have Jacinta Donovan, Director of Planning Services, Nikki Thorstensen, Director of Communications, and Marlene Hansen, Executive Assistant. Then on the line from the county's end, we have Dave Grover, Board Member, Larry Clark, Board Member, and Yvette Cassidy, Chief Administrative Officer. And then Julie, if you want to introduce yourself, and Jason, and then I can intro the reason for your delegation today. Oh, you're still muted. Still muted. Tap on the iPad and then hit the mute in the bottom left, I think.
Sorry,
There we
sorry. Okay, yes, I'm here, Julie Rattan, and Jason Dowell, representing the Rochon Sands Heights Community Association.
Again, Mr. Chairman, I'll just sort of introduce the purpose of the delegation today. So we, administration's been working with the Rochon Sands Heights Community Association as they look into what it would take to form a marina association and do something with the Buffalo View Estates Marina. And they came to a few sort of stop sign questions that they need to sort of sort out responsibility and make sure that they're heading in the right direction before they invest too much volunteer resources into it. And so you'll see that in the letter that you guys got, and then I would hand it over to Julie to elaborate and walk us through.
Okay, just quickly, Jason, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself. You're kind of new to the program. We know Julie, we've had her around for a while, so we kind of know everybody, but you're the newbie. So can you give us a little bit of background?
Absolutely. I just joined the Community Association in August. They were looking for new sort of fresh faces, people who had some extra time. We spend our year in Camrose, and then we just purchased our lot out at the lake this past April. And so we wanted to jump on the board and help out with the community as it grows through the years.
Awesome. Well, welcome. Thank you. Okay. Julie, go ahead. It's all yours, dear.
Okay, thank you. Well, as Andrew said, we're just starting to look at what it's going to take to get a marina up and working in that Buffalo View Estates boat launch area. We've got lots of things to work out, but we started off, we've got a Marina Committee set up, and we have 6 very enthusiastic volunteers who are very interested in getting this moving. We have decided to separate the Marina Association from the Community Association and have a separate Marina Association, but one of our Community Association board members will be on their board to make sure that the whole of the community continues to be represented. We have come up with a mission statement, and I won't read that to you. It's there in the package, but it does refer to the guiding principles that we are equitable, respectful of the environment, and make some sound financial decisions. Jason, on behalf of the Marina Committee and the Community Association, has done a demand analysis of what we might be looking at, and I'd like him to touch base on that if he could.
Sure, absolutely. So on page 4 of our package, or map 2, you guys can kind of follow along so you can kind of see what lots and areas that I pulled my information from. But in total, there are 106 lots in Rochon Sands Heights, of which we've identified 45 with the potential need for a place to store a personal watercraft. And some of those lots include the 7 that surround the existing marina or county lot. There's 12 that have access to lake, but it's poor. It would be up on the east end, sort of in Marina View Close, where the elevation is quite high and it's not direct access from everybody's lot. And then 26 lots, which are true backlot. They have no access to lake front property at all for their boat lifts or docks, as it may be. And then part 2 of our demand will be, we're going to send out a survey to all 106 of our residents, just to make everything equitable and fair, and see if that demand for a marina extends beyond those 45 lots that we've sort of preliminary identified. And then we do have 11 vacant lots that we don't have any information on. So I think if we continue down this path, we're going to hope that the county will send out that survey on our behalf to those residents, just so everybody has been contacted and let know of what the plan could be moving forward. And then if you continue on to page 5 and 6, you'll see a few preliminary drawings of what the marina could look like. Both of those drawings came from county admin. We sort of took those to Heartland Marine just to get an idea of what the scope of the dimensions for it could be and the cost. And we're looking, Heartland thinks they could put about between 30 and 40 slips in that marina, and using 550 feet of dock. They won't be able to give us an exact figure until they do a sonar scan to get an exact look at the contour of the lake bed. That's something that we would do if we proceed further down this path. And from talks with Heartland, we identified one area of trying to access any slips on the east side of the marina. So we would have to work with the county to maybe extend the existing dock structure that sits alongside the fence on the south side to maybe so people can walk from the public parking all the way across. And that's where we are thus far. I think Judy's got some other.
Yeah, just to finish off. So that's kind of where we're at. There, like I say, there's a lot of unknowns yet, and we're working together as the committee. But what the purpose of us here today is to just talk about, just to confirm that we're both on the same side about who operates what in that site. And I've talked to Andrew, and he sort of agreed to some, but we thought it was best to bring it forward to you guys. So you'll see after the concept drawings I've got county responsibility and a dock association responsibility. So the thinking is the county will continue to take responsibility to make sure the mouth to the lake is maintained, which is I think you've got a license of occupation with the is it a license of occupation with the provincial government, that we keep the aeration pumps functioning so the lake water in there is clear, that there's free and clear movement on the bed in and out of the marina, including movement of any beaver dams or invasive vegetation that may grow in that area. The continued usage of the boat launch, that you would maintain the boat launch and upgrades if that's ever done. And maybe we'll work together on some signage for the boat launch and allowing for any storage of marina infrastructure if we need it during the winter months. And then the dock association would take responsibility for all the dock slips, walkways, regular sonar scans, maintenance of the marina infrastructure, signage at the marina, and even go as far as working with the county to develop the public area through obtaining a license of occupation in the future. That's not on our radar right now, but they've certainly have talked about wanting to put some picnic tables down there and make it more of an area where the residents can take families, especially some of the backlot owners. So what we're doing here today, the biggest thing is what we want is this to be a private operated marina with slips going to the landowners in Rochon Sands Estates. We haven't quite gotten to the point how we would assign slip assignments, but we'll go back to our mission statement and continue to say that it needs to be equitable. We have looked at the Buffalo Lake Meadows program, which is only available to their homeowners in their area. So we are modeling ourselves after that. So some of the reasons we've outlined, there's 7 of them there. I'm not going to read them all, but the biggest issue we have is the parking area right now is insufficient to accommodate those who travel outside of the community, who might bring their trucks from Stellar or wherever to use the marina if we do allow for public access. We're worried that it could increase the likelihood of illegal parking along Bayview Street, as well as taking away the limited parking along Marina Crescent in place. Perhaps they park against the fence, blocking sewer tanks. The existing lot can get full of trucks and boat trailers just because they're using the boat launch. So we do have a limited infrastructure there, and there is no public areas for gathering or public washrooms for people to come from out of the area and park for the day and use it. And the 7 are there. So that's basically what we're here today, is just to get clarification that County Council and County Admin are okay with us proceeding based on that premise. So we're looking for 3 decisions today. The county mailing of the survey to the 11 lot owners, that perhaps the conditions to operate the marina are clear between both of us, and the private marina can operate with slips assigned to landowners in Rochon Sands Estates. And that will be based on demand, which we are working on in the next couple of weeks to figure that out. And that's it. Thank you.
Julie,
Any questions?
What was the second one? The mailing and the private, and then what was the other one in the 3 decisions?
The private operation, the private marina operation to any landowner, that the conditions to operate the marina are defined, such as what I talked about, usable amount, aeration pumps, those kind of things. Yeah. Okay.
So just quickly here, in the concept, this is just privately run. This is what your plan is, correct? Is there going to be pay for fee service, or how does this work? So I live at the lake and I have a boat and I want to use, I want to park my boat down there in the marina. Do I pay a monthly fee, or do I, just because I live at the lake, I get it for free, or how does this work?
Well, we're getting lots of information from other marinas and how they run, and we've got 3 people that are going to come up with some concepts for us and how to best run it. An example is Buffalo Lake Meadows. They charge $5,000 for a slip and $300 a year maintenance fee for insurance costs, and and they have built up a reserve if there needs to be any repairs or anything. Other marinas in BC, that's the same kind of concept. One of the ones I looked at, it comes with your house, the marina slip, right? So there's many different ways that we can structure it, but we're going to have to charge a fee to get the right to have a slip, and then whether we have some seasonal rentals to give us some cash flow, or whether we sell all the slips. Like I say, we haven't decided on that yet, but we've got to look at our costs versus how to buy the marina infrastructure. That's going to be pretty costly.
Okay. Mr. Stevens, go ahead.
I have a couple of questions. The first one is, what definition of backlot are we using in your demand analysis? Because this is a recent mooring policy that came out, and depending on how you interpret it, this one could be loaded. So I guess, what definition did you use?
Well, for any backlot, they didn't touch any part of the county municipal reserve. Like none of their property bordered the county municipal reserve. So if you look at the map, it'd be anything in Marina Close, like 10 through 22. They don't touch a county reserve, so they technically would have no access to the lake at all without going through private property or looking for a public pathway down. That's kind of how I interpret it in my mind. And I know that the mooring policy kind of changes the definition for Buffalo Lake, and that's something that I hear we're working on clarification. But just for these initial purposes, that's how we sort of split up those 65 lots on this end of Roshan Sands Heights.
Fair enough. And we are working on clarification as to how speedy of a process that is yet to be seen. The next question, is it possible with this new mooring policy, it gives very limited options to backlot owners. Is it possible to give backlot owners a priority, a first chance on this? I'm not sure how many are going to be interested, but I would like to see some sort of priority given a backlot. Lakefront or semi-lakefront do have alternatives. The backlot they have very limited options. So is that going to be a priority?
We have discussed a priority list, and those 26 that we identified as backlot, as well as the 7 that border the current marina, which some of them actually use it for their boats now. We've identified that they would most likely be on the higher priority. And then if some of those lots don't, I guess, want to slip, then we can go to the next level of priority, then open up to people further in the area. But yes, the idea is to alleviate some of that backlot access that doesn't exist right now.
Okay, perfect.
If I can just say something, the word equitable comes up a lot in our meetings, and what is equitable? And we haven't really figured that out yet. But the important thing for the community association is that this is not just for Buffalo View Estates. It's open to the entire community. So that's where, once we get demand back and we find out who has said yes, they're interested, maybe nobody in the old part cares, right? And we're back to where we think. But we have to be cognizant of that. We're here today to represent all of the community association, but the committee will then take that information and make sure whatever we decide is equitable. And I agree with Jason that we're leaning towards the 7 existing that are already using it and the 26 backlot owners first. But it might end up being a lottery if we have a big demand. We just don't know yet.
Okay, and the last point that I have is, initially I had reservations about the idea of private. Some of what you're suggesting has mitigated those concerns, we'll say. Currently, this marina and historically has been underdeveloped and underutilized, we'll say. We have a budget situation for us to go in and develop it. I can't foresee that happening in the near future. So some of my concerns were mitigated when you suggested that your association would be managing this. You would be doing the legwork, you would be managing it, the storage, the maintenance, etc., and then the self-funded model. If you were asking for public funds, I tend to think that this is public use. But if a private company or a private group or association is funding, managing, and maintaining to expand a service that isn't currently available, that kind of mitigates my concern. So,
Mr. Bishop.
I just wanted to clarify as well for MPC's sake. The community association is here only looking to get some preliminary sort of negotiating ideas. And the formal lease agreement will still have to come before council, and that's quite a bit down the road. They just have quite a bit of light work to do, that they needed some sureties on some of their plans before they undertook all of that work. If you were going to come back at that point and say, well, no to this, no to that, no to that.
Question to staff. My understanding is the boat launch has to remain public to comply with the Buffalo Lake IDP. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the couple of the items listed as county responsibility are our responsibility, whether this marina expands or not. The access, the aeration, free of beaver dams, invasives.
Yeah, it's actually,
All those responsibilities currently exist in our realm?
the community association's list of asks from the county, you're dead on. Aside from storing the marina infrastructure and signage for the boat launch, the rest is primarily associated with maintaining the boat launch. And the signage for the boat launch, you can even put under that, it would just be new signage. So yeah, we definitely have an obligation to try and keep that open, keep the movement free and clear anyways. We do have the license of occupation for the mouth of that marina going into the lake, and then of course the marina itself is a private lot. That license of occupation unfortunately doesn't ever give you carte blanche. So if we need to go out and dredge some of the silt out, for example, we still need a temporary field authorization. But it sounds like recently AEP hasn't been too enormous with the requirements. I had a good chat with the old McDonald's campground about that recently, and they're undertaking similar work. So
Juliet, who is, when we talk about the go forward on this, and we talk about the actual physical putting in of the slips and taking out of the slips, are you guys planning on doing that? Because it seems, I'll be honest, I don't know. Looks like quite a bit of undertaking if you're taking 40 pieces of this marina in and out. My only concern is I don't want us having to commit county forces every fall to have to pull these things up onto them, especially if it's
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, primary indication from Heartland is it would be, you'd be able to leave it in the marina all winter long. It'd probably be a floating dock kind of concept. And the existing unit users do keep their docks in that bay area all winter right now. It doesn't get the wave action and the ice heaves because it's off the lake.
Okay. So what is the storage you're speaking of then? What storage are you talking of?
Well, I don't know, say we had to take a walkway out or something that might cause storage. At this point in time, we don't see it, but because we're hoping that it can stay in that bay, but say we have a walkway that's along the shoreline that just needs to be moved off for the winter.
Okay, and now, what if you had somebody that was just outside the community association and wanted to still have a slip? Is that possibly something that's a back, bottom, way back?
Well, yeah, we're struggling with that and we're not there yet, obviously. I mean, there's 6 of us that have all different ideas. And I'm sure you all do also. I think the thing is, if there's availability, then I'm sure the board would I don't know whether I don't want to say it'd make an exception, but if the cash flow and getting it full is probably more important than it's just staying within our neighborhood. We just don't want to give too many outside of it because of the parking issue.
Fair
Right?
enough.
Like if all of a sudden 15 slips are from people from Camrose or Stettler or other lake communities, then we've got the parking issue to deal with. So it would be limited, but it would be based on demand.
Yeah, I hear you. Those Camrose guys are bad.
Yeah.
So one thing, Julie, one thing that I would look at your three issues. Number one, the mailing one, I think is something that's pretty straightforward. I think that's a very doable situation. Now, when you say private operation, could I suggest here that we look at community operations versus private? It's about not what we say, but how we say it sometimes. And I'll be honest, when we're talking to the general public and we say that this is going to be a private organization, here comes the flags all saying it is the lake people against the rest of the community. And I don't want to see that. I think if we can get that as this is a community operated slips, or however you want to put it, but change that name so that it sounds a little bit more inviting, I think. So, and what was number 2 again? Responsibilities. I mean, that's pretty much pretty standard. We're doing it anyways. There isn't going to be much. There looks like there's a little bit there that might be, and then the private operation. And this is I don't see anything that's going to throw up any red flags right now that a community operation is out there. We already have one. I don't think there's any license of occupation subletting that we have to worry about, is there, Andrew?
No, because this is a private lot that they would be, and all of the responsibility within our license of occupation would still be the county's.
Right. So, I mean, myself, I don't see any issues. I'll just run by here to you. We'll start with Mr. Stolberg. Any?
No, I don't see any red flags. It's not raising red flags for me at this point. I think it's a good idea, and I think to get something like this so that it is utilized by the community, I think the initiative has to be taken by the community, and you're quite willing to do that. So to me, so far, so good.
Mr. Stevens?
Currently, I see no major concerns. I would like to thank the association. It's important that we give thanks to groups, nonprofits, associations, wherever possible, when they are willing to take on this sort of legwork. Whether you move forward or not, I'd like to thank you guys for putting in the work that you have so far.
Mr. Grover, any comments, concerns?
Oh, yes, I got some comments. I'm one of those back lot owners. I live 15 miles south of Stettler, and I go to the lake all the time. When the only reason that I ever voted for that development, which the county has put a lot of money into and lost a lot of money in, is because of another public access to the lake. And yeah, I'll give you my $5,000 this afternoon and the $300 too to go along with it. Because we like to use the lake too. I've been I'm 65 years old. I've been going to the lake since I was 4 years old. And we like to use that lake. We like to put our boat in there too. So if you're short of people to buy a slip, I think we can probably do that. I don't like the private thing. When that was built, I don't know. I think you better look back at your bylaws and stuff. I think you were supposed to stay open to the public. Not just, the slips are fine, but you still have to be able to, and the parking is probably going to be a problem, I would think, because I can't see where they would park a whole bunch of boat trailers and trucks and stuff. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. McKay.
I'm all good. It just looks like a natural fit.
Okay. Mr. Gender.
I'm pretty much on side, and yes, like the concern is, say, like with the back lot, but there's also, I'm not really sure, like the county does have a little few acre parcel for parking, whether we develop it. There is that possibility. Yes, you may have to walk a little ways. I do not want to see any parking along the roads. No, I'm for it. Continue on.
Okay. Mr. Clark.
Yeah, I guess I just got to kind of echo what Mr. Grover says to the fact that is a boat launch, and we've all heard the reasons why it's maybe not the best one to get a boat in, but it needs to be open, and parking in that case still is an issue. So with parking, we'd have to look at. I do see with 44 boats in there, it's going to make it less usable as a boat launch because it looks pretty crowded as it is as it was, I should say. Everything was spread out fairly much. So it is all part of the county of Stettler. So I don't, when we say private, I just don't want it to be utilized as, totally private. There should be some that are eligible for other people that do live in Stettler or something too. So, or the county of Stettler. So thank you.
Okay, and I think the key there is that the slips are private, but the launch would still be a public access. And I'm just wondering, Julia, would it be like in your plan, and I'm not saying this has to go, this is your plan, but could there be a designated 5 of those slips designated to people that are, like Mr. Grover and Mr. Clark are saying, the back lot owners still be part of your guys' association in some way? And I don't know how your bylaws and that work, and I don't know how that would work. I'm just wondering if that would be, even if there was 3 or 4 or something, I don't know, a 10% amount that was open to people that were not just in there. And it's just a suggestion. You can think about it. You don't have to, that's nothing that I'm just throwing that out there to alleviate some of that concern. But I don't think there's any other questions from our side. What about from you guys? Anything that comments?
If I could just speak up, thank you for the suggestion to change the wording from private to community. I agree. I think that it's a better tone that we're setting, and I thank you for that. The intention of the community association being involved in the Marina Committee is that we know the boat launch needs to be a public access point. It's identified in the social area structure plan, and whatever the Marina Committee does has to continue to make that boat launch available to the public. We can't impede movement of any boats that might launch there. The only suggestion I made to Andrew is that perhaps we put signage up that says that boat launch should be for small watercraft only. Some of these huge boats these days do not do very well on that boat launch, and if we do put a marina, then it could get a little crowded because we could possibly have big boats in that marina. We're not going to stipulate what size of boat it's got to be. So I think we have to be cognizant of the fact that there is limited space, and we've got to work together to make sure everybody still continues to have access in there. So that's the basis of the community association, staying involved with the Marina Association and staying involved with Justin also, our counselor, so that he's aware of what's going on.
Okay. Jason, any thoughts?
Just to speak to Mr. Clark's concern about overcrowding the boat launch, when we took these drawings to Heartland, that's the first thing they said we have to keep those slips away from that boat launch, which is how they got to that 30 to 35 number. So they were aware that we needed to keep ample space around that boat launch. So the drawings you have, there are boats kind of looking like they're on top of the existing launch. That's not how we're going to proceed with that.
Okay.
Just to kind of alleviate that concern.
I'm not a boat guy. Just, is there a class of boat? Like, is there different classes of boats that determine size, or how do you size the boat up? Is it just by footage, like, or
2 parts, footage, and one of the bigger issues is this is an angled launch that causes you to turn around immediately after you leave the trailer. The current popularity for towboats is V-drive or direct drive. They steer via rudder. You cannot steer them very well at all without some speed and flow going past that rudder. So you can launch and maneuver a larger square footage boat, provided that it is conventional outboard or inboard outboard. It allows you a lot more flexibility, and that's why it's kind of difficult to say 20 feet, that's our line, because you can potentially launch a 24-foot pontoon boat just because they can steer it next to no speed.
And the only reason I'm asking is when Julie, you talked about putting the sign up, small boats. Well, you know what it's like, oh, I got a small boat and it is a 30-foot boat, right? Compared to the guy that's got a yacht, I got a small boat, right? And I get it.
I get that.
Yeah.
And that's something that we'd have to work out. We'd have to work out with Rick. I mean, Rick's pretty knowledgeable about that boat launch. So what would work? I mean, we're going to get 3 quotes probably, and hopefully 3 different designs and 3 different concepts. So we'll be sharing those as we move forward.
Okay. Mr. Clark or Mr. Grover, anything from you guys? Just because you're online and I can't see your faces.
No, I'm good.
No, I'm good too, Dave, or, council member,
Okay.
board member, never.
There you go.
There.
Okay, so does that give you guys some direction then? Julie and Jason?
Yes. Are we clear? Are we okay to go ahead with that community operated and just start off giving slips to the residents of Rochon Sands Heights?
I think so. I think we'd have to enter into that license or the lease option, I think is where we would be at on that. And that, I mean, honestly, I mean, in concept, it goes forward and I think, yes, I think we can do that. But again, it'll have to go through all the legal hoops to make sure that everything, all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. But I think in concept, you seem to have a go forward from this group.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your time today.
And thank you for doing that. That helps us all.
Good.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Have a good weekend.
Yes, you too. I don't think there's anything else. I don't think there's anything else. Mr. Sober.
I'll give you a German meeting.
Next meeting is February 23rd.
Motion.
And we have a motion on the floor to end this meeting. All those in favor?
In favor.
Favor.